Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Welcome to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by 4Wheel Parts. I am excited to bring you what I'm calling part 2 of the Sorensen series today. We have Amanda Sorensen on the podcast. Her brother Brandon was on the last normal podcast that I have. I say normal because I do live shows intermixed. So I had 2 live shows in between the Brandon Sorensen show and the Amanda Sorensen show. But this is the second part of the series and the first show released in April of 2020. Her younger brother, Cameron Sorensen, will be on the next episode and conclude the Sorensen series. But either way, we had a lot of fun in this episode, and I'm excited to bring it to you. Before I get into the show with Amanda, though, I want to tell you a little bit about 4Wheel Parts. So there's a number of businesses that have been impacted by the coronavirus pandemic, but 4Wheel Parts is open, and they're cleaning more and more now. They're ready to serve you in whatever way possible. So there's a number of locations that are still open. You'll obviously have to check your individual area to make sure stores are open. Some places are kind of locked down right now, but they actually have a COVID-19 webpage opened that will help you figure out which stores might be closed or open and what they're doing to support. So, they've got more hand sanitizing stations set up. They're cleaning door handles, counter shelves, things like that. Maintaining a safe and courteous distance with customers. Essentially there's a kind of that 6 foot is the recommendation across the world for social distancing, keeping that 6 foot distance. But there are some stores that are temporarily closed. So right now they've got 9 stores closed out of what I believe is 95 locations right now. So check on your individual store. Even if it's closed, though, they're in I think most cases still able to ship products directly to your home. So if you can't get into a store, please take the opportunity to leverage online shopping. And then hopefully if you're quarantined right now and you're looking for some projects, you can leverage 4Wheel Parts to get some parts for your truck or your Jeep or whatever, and use your time off here to get your vehicle where you want it to be. All right, outside of that, I want to thank a number of other awesome companies that have helped make this show possible for quite some time now. AMSOIL, they provide amazing lubrication products, and they're a company that runs on freedom. You can find out more at amsoil.com/rider. TopThePodium.com, they're experts in motorsports sponsorship and website creation. Crash Act Industries, they provide human protection and extreme racing products. And I also want to shout out some of our other partners, including UTV Sports Mag, where we publish a column there in their magazine every month called Sponsor This, MBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, and High Octane Coffee. In a minute, you will hear from Joe Sylvester from High Octane Coffee. He publishes a little tidbit of sponsorship advice called the High Octane Coffee Marketing Tune-Up at every show. Before that, though, I just want to thank everybody for this last month. March of 2020 was the biggest download month the show has ever seen, which is fantastic. The unfortunate thing is that I know it is based on the COVID-19 pandemic, and a lot of people kind of looking for entertainment and something that can keep them occupied during a quarantine period, especially for folks who aren't able to work right now. So I appreciate those folks for turning to the show, and I appreciate the additional downloads. That's fantastic. It's unfortunate circumstances, but I'm glad that at least the show has been able to help provide some entertainment and something to do for folks out there who might not have their normal schedules right now. So I really appreciate that. And if you are listening to this and you've not subscribed before, please head over to Apple Podcasts, hit that subscribe button, or whatever podcast platform you use. And while you're at Apple Podcasts, why don't you go ahead and leave a rating or review? That is phenomenal. That's the next best way, I guess, to help downloads other than a pandemic, is to leave that rating and review. It increases exposure for the show. All right. I appreciate your time right now, and because of that, I want to get into the show with Amanda. It is a good one. So first, Joe Sylvester, then Amanda Sorensen.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Joe Sylvester here with your high-octane coffee marketing tune-up. Today I want to mention sponsor testimonials and how you should definitely always utilize them in your proposals and your sponsorship overviews. Nothing speaks to a company and makes you much more reputable than the testimonial of current marketing partners. Reach out to them whenever you're building your deck for the new season and say, hey, I just need a couple sentences from you about your experience working with me. Put a picture of you and your sponsorship rep in your proposals, as well as the quote and their name and the company that they're from. I've always been told about my proposals that is one of the best parts of it, and it definitely speaks volumes to companies that they know that there are other companies out there putting their name on the line for your program, and that they believe in you as a representative of their company. So definitely use testimonials to your advantage. Utilize those relationships, and generally you'll find that your representative from your sponsorship company will be more than happy to do that for you, and will actually be honored that you wanted to include their testimonial in your proposal. So that's it for today. Thanks.
Today we've got Amanda Sorensen on, and the last episode we had Brandon Sorensen on, so we got to hear a little bit of his story, but now it's time to hear about you. Tell us about yourself.
Well, first of all, I'm a 17-year-old female in the male-dominated industry. I am one of 3 licensed females in the Formula Drift series, so I'm a professional drifter.
Mm-hmm.
I also drive monster trucks.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a trophy truck. I just started racing the trophy truck this year. My dad used to race trophy trucks, and he sort of got me into that.
Nice.
I've also raced side-by-sides, go-karts. I've pretty much just been involved in the industry for a long time.
Yeah, that's awesome. When did you get into the monster trucks? I know that was fairly recently, right?
Yes, I actually got into the monster trucks last year.
Okay.
And one of my good friends, Aaron, called me, and he was like, hey, I'm in charge of putting on the sideshow for one of the monster truck events here in town. And I was like, okay. He's like, well, you bring your trophy truck out. And just, it was called the Tough Truck Race.
Okay.
And most of their tough trucks that they had that usually did this sideshow couldn't make it. So he called me, and he's like, hey, come bring your truck out. And so I was like, okay. So when I brought my truck out, I was like, he didn't really tell me that it was going to be a monster truck event.
Oh, right.
And, like, me personally, since I was, like, 10, I've always wanted to drive monster trucks. I went to Monster Jam every year with my family. Like, I was always like, I'm going to be in one of those driver's seats one day. And when I went there, we were all doing autograph signings, and I went up to one of the drivers, and I was like, hey, like, when are you going to let me drive your monster truck?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, what do you mean? And I started telling him about myself, and he's like, oh, sick, like, I have an extra truck, let me put you in.
Oh, wow, just like that.
That's pretty much how that started.
Holy cow.
Yep. And I didn't really, like, so his name's Craig Christensen. He drove Max B for years, and when he retired, he had 4 trucks of his own.
Okay.
So he has a truck for himself, his son, his stepson, and then the 4th truck, he usually just alters through drivers.
Yeah.
And he, like, a month later, he's like, come out to the event. We can get you in, like, for some practice, and then I'll put you in the next event to actually compete. So I went out, and I drove it probably for, like, not even 10 minutes. Like, the adrenaline rush that I was getting from it was, I've never gone an adrenaline rush, like, in anything like I did a monster truck.
Really?
It was crazy. But I also couldn't see anything because I'm in this seat that's for, like, this bigger man, and I'm just, like, a little girl. And so I was, like, so scared when I got in, but I was like, it's okay, I got this.
Yeah.
And I just drove it around in the little arena. I jumped it, crushed some cars. It was fun.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a cool sport. It was funny. I took my wife and kids to see a Monster Jam in Detroit, Michigan. I think it was last year. Maybe it was 2 years ago. And, I was telling them, like, yeah, we're going to get to see the trucks backflip. And my wife is kind of leaned over, and she had never been to a Monster Jam event or watched it. She leaned over. She's like, stop getting them all excited and lying to them. I was like, no, they're going to do backflips.
You're like, no, I'm not lying.
Yeah, she was like, stop it. Like, stop. Tell them the truth. I was like, you watch. And she wouldn't believe me until she saw it. And I was like, look, yeah, like they all do backflips. That's just what they do now.
Yeah, so unfortunately, though, I'm not allowed to drive for Monster Jam until I'm 18.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, I'm just sort of racking up seat time with Craig.
Yeah.
And then when I do turn 18, I'll go audition.
Oh, perfect.
My chances of getting are very high.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good deal. Well, actually, I kind of cheated and like jumped to that just because I thought it was a cool story, but I got to hear a lot more. So I want to dive in a lot deeper in your background and hear your whole story. And then maybe we can skip over the Monster Jam or the monster truck part since I already kind of covered that. But, you know, how did you first get into motorsports? You know, what path did you take to get to where you're at today?
So my dad raced desert for 20 plus years. He started off on a quad, and then he ended up working his way up. He had a class 1, he had a class 7, and then he ended up getting a trophy truck. And then once he felt like he was a little bit too old, he got, well, I wouldn't say too old, like he's not that old, but when my brother, so I have 2 younger brothers, one who's 15, his name's Brandon, the one that you talk to, and then Cameron, who's 8 years old.
Yep, I heard about Cameron a little bit.
Yeah, Cameron's a character. He definitely completes our family.
Yeah.
But Brandon and I started BMX when we were super young, and so my dad was like, okay, well, it's like my time to focus on them rather than himself. So he took himself out of the truck and he started really focusing on us. And personally, I wasn't as involved in the BMX thing as my brother, although my brother's always been like my number one competitor. Like no matter what I do, I think having him in every sport that I participate in has always driven us to the top, because even if we're better than everyone else, him and I are still on the same level, and we're still competing to be better than each other. But so when we were in BMX, after BMX, I also was participating in figure skating. Okay. A little bit out of the bubble, but then we went to go-karting. We started at our local track here, just started going for practice nights, and then started racing. My brother went to the Grands or to the Nationals, got the Screaming Eagle Award. I was still a little bit I was really involved in the industry, but like wasn't as in it as he was, because I was also figure skating, still not fully in it. But then after that, we started racing the Lucas Oil Series, and us transferring from go-karting into the mod carts was a huge step for us. And I think that being the youngest in the mod cart class as well was hard, because going in there, I don't think we should have. Personally, for me, I wasn't ready to be in a mod cart. I was always back of the pack. Like, I was not ready for that. It was too much. And so then that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to take a step back into the junior 2. Got a junior 2, and then I was like, all right, this is boring. It's just less. So I got back into mod carts, and then I was like, you know what? Like, I want to race a Razor. So my rookie year, I got the championship in the Lucas Oil Short Course Series racing the Razor. Okay. And after that, I know 2016 was like our busiest year yet. We were racing Works. We were racing 3 different Lucas Oil Series, the Cal State, and the Arizona regionals, and then the nationals. And so we had weekends where like my brother and I were going from 2 different states back and forth to race. Oh yeah. Like, it was mad, like so busy that week or that year. And I think we counted like 32 race weekends, not including the weekends that we were out at Dumont, out snowboarding, going on family trips, like. But so once I got the UTV championship, I was like, okay, I want to go into desert. So then I started really focusing in works, just like a step towards best in the desert. And my brother and I actually ran into an age issue, and I was in the lead for my 2 classes, and he was in the lead for his 2 classes, and then we ended up getting kicked out because of an age issue.
Oh.
Not kicked out, but we were disqualified.
Yeah.
Because of an age issue.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's when we started drifting. Like, we bought a beater car, and my brother was so selfish with it. I never got to drive. I only got 2 sets of tires to burn, and he was just going at it. He fell in love with it, and it was like drifting. Everything was drifting. So I was like, whatever. And I still I participated in the UTV events, and my youngest brother, who's 8, he actually got into go-karting too, so we all got go-karts again. We just go out whenever they have practice days, and we'll put down laps in the go-karts. And then after about a year of having the beater car, my brother got his first pro car, and then I finally got the beater car to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I kind of started learning. And then my brother got his pro license, so then I got my pro license the next year.
Awesome.
And yeah, now I'm in the monster trucks too.
Yeah, perfect.
So that's pretty much how I worked my way up.
That's awesome. And I asked you a little bit about the monster truck, so that's cool that we got to cover that. So right now, I mean, what are you really excited about? What's got you all fired up?
Well, I've had the opportunity to go to Europe and drive monster trucks over there.
Mm.
So that's pretty cool, but who knows how that will all trickle down with this whole coronavirus thing.
Yeah.
And I know Europe is not having a good time right now with that either.
No.
And I love the monster truck thing. And after having my first trophy truck race, I think, because I had my first trophy truck race, it was a Snore 250, which was 3 weeks ago. I ended up breaking my A-arm in half, literally. But I think that's good. That was our first race, was out of the way, and I think that's a start to the whole trophy truck program. And I think that obviously you got to start somewhere, and that's where we started. So now that ball is rolling, we can finally get the trophy truck dialed in and hopefully work up to getting one day 4-wheel drive trophy truck. I think that'd be pretty tight. So.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, and I love how you kind of phrase that with the positive mindset there of, like, it was a good entry into it. We're gonna work through that. And I think it takes, especially in the desert racing world, like, you gotta be committed, because it doesn't matter, from what I can tell, how hard you prepped, how good your team is, things break. Like, it just, it's just the craziest things happen out in the desert.
And honestly, I actually broke the truck trying to save the truck, believe it or not. When I was in staging, my main fuel pump went out. And when we were testing the day prior to that, we were having fuel pump issues. So we were running on our backup fuel pump. So we decided to replace the main fuel pump. And in staging, my main fuel pump went out, and our backup fuel pump really wasn't running that well. We didn't find any issues with it, but it was the day before the race when we were testing, so we weren't too worried about it. And then I probably made it, I'd say like 20 miles in, until I started realizing that my fuel pump was starting to go out. So I was up in the backwash, like right before the Joshua trees on the Snore 250 truck, and I was like telling my co-driver, do you think we should pull off? And I was like, no, it's not like that bad yet. And I was like, honestly, I don't want to be stuck in the middle of this wash, because then it's going to make it harder for all the other racers to get around me, because it was so skinny. So I was like, I'm just going to pull off when I can. And right when I went to pull off, of course, there was this big boulder, and I wasn't even paying attention. I was just trying to get off the track, and I hit it, and I snapped my arm.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. But it's okay, because desert racing, everything is unpredictable.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy out there. I mean, I've pitted in Vegas Reno 3 times, and there's always something crazy that breaks or comes up. It's just unreal.
Yeah, definitely. But honestly, I think personally, I had chills driving on my way to, my little brother raced on, he raced the Mint 400 on his dirt bike. And when I was on my way out there, I was seeing all of the trophy trucks going with their helicopters flying behind them, and I got chills. And I was like, I cannot wait until I'm out there with one of those helicopters following me. Like, that's just a dream.
Yeah, the helicopter piece, it just takes it to the next level. I remember when I first,
definitely,
like, I didn't know that they did that. The first time I went to Vegas to Reno, I was like, what's going on with all these helicopters? Like, oh, that's their chase helicopter. They're doing like footage and stuff and keep track of them. I was
Crazy.
like, what? That happens?
Yeah. And I'm only racing Snore right now. Snore is a little bit smaller. It's not like, I want to be out there racing like in Baja and Best in the Desert. Like, that's where the big boys play.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's good. And trophy trucks, like, I know you said that monster trucks are one of the biggest rushes you've ever had, but I would, in my head, I've not been in a trophy truck, but that's like the ultimate spot to be.
I don't think I have, like, to put it in perspective, when I drive my drift car, like, I'm only at the Pro 2 level. There's one more level above me where the Pro 1 guys drive. That's for the guys that have been, well, my brother just got his Pro 1 license this year.
Yeah, he said that.
But, so I've only been drifting for, I'd say, around 2 years consistently. And some of those guys that are out there who have been driving for 5+ years, you get in a car with them and your heart literally drops. Like, it's, the adrenaline rush from that is crazy, but you only get an adrenaline rush for those 30 seconds on the track. Whereas when you're out in, like, if you were riding along with Bryce Menzie, that'd be dream. I think that the adrenaline rush from that would be consistent and ongoing for the whole race. Yeah,
definitely. Well, the next question I got for you here is about, the sponsors and partners that you work with. So who are some of them?
Well, right now, my biggest supporter would be Sorensen Motorsports, which is my family, our racing team that we have. But then following them, 212 Performance, they're right now one of our bigger sponsors, and I'd say that they're one of the people that we have built our partnership with, and it's a lot more stronger than the others, but they are gloves, actually. They're like mechanics gloves, welding gloves, and they support us with the whole trophy truck thing, the drifting. They're there for all of it.
Mm-hmm. And you've been with them for quite a while.
Yeah, since they were small.
Good.
Yep. And then also, like this year, it's kind of hard, honestly, being in a monster truck, a drift car, a trophy truck, a UTV, and finding someone to back all four of them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, picking a tire sponsor who can provide us with dirt and drifting versus, like, I think for a while we were struggling with finding someone. We can't put somebody's name on the side of our car if we're running somebody else's tires on the drift car versus on the trophy truck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of hard for us to find sponsors that could back, like, all of those without clashing with one another. But I think overall we kind of manage it pretty well. Like, right now another one that we have is Raceline and Conseil. They're sister companies. Conseil supports us in the drifting, and they provide us rims, and then Raceline provides us rims for the trophy truck.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a really good point. When you're racing across disciplines, but still trying to maintain that sponsor relationship, it could be very awkward, right? If you were trying to pitch.
Definitely.
Like, I want, BF Goodrich on my trophy truck, they're the best. And then you hop into your drift car and you're like, no, I'm running Nexon.
And it's like.
Like what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's good you're thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want people listening to think about, is say, okay, if I'm doing multiple disciplines, because there's quite a few people out there that do multiple disciplines, maybe not quite as many as you're doing, but they do multiple disciplines, and it's good to have those connections. And that's one of the benefits too when you have someone like, what you're saying with 212 Performance Mechanics gloves, right? They can be linked to all of those relatively easy, whereas, the tire one would be pretty challenging.
Yeah. Or even like we have other sponsors like Phoenix Industries. They give us all of our fittings for our cars.
Oh, yeah.
And so like the hose fittings, that kind of goes across both disciplines. But yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of hard, like if I were to represent one sponsor. Now, one thing, like me, I manage Sorensen Motorsports Marketing, and I feel like my part of the team, because it is a brother-sister team, like my brother's the one out in the garage, like fixing the cars, getting everything ready, and I'm the one who registers us, make sure we have hotel rooms. Like I do more of the kind of like the bookwork part of it, whereas he does the other stuff like preparation. But even just like marketing, like I'm getting shirts made right now, and I'm like, well, I don't really know who I'm gonna put on the shirts, because for Long Beach, I just got all these shirts made, and yes, our event is canceled now.
Yeah.
But in the process of that, I was like, do I put Raceline on there? Because they're one of my sponsors, but like they don't support me in drifting.
Right.
Now their sister company, Conte, supports me in drifting. So it's kind of like, even when it comes down to the marketing part, it's kind of hard to promote my sponsors through all of it.
Right.
So.
No, that's a unique challenge, right? And I'm glad you brought it up, because I'm sure other people face that, and they feel the same way, like, what do I do? Like, how do I handle this? So
yeah,
it's good to hear you got some examples of how you work through that.
Yeah.
That is kind of the end to the background section of the show. Now I want to take a quick minute to thank the sponsors for this podcast, and then we'll come back into the main event. 2 questions I get continuously about this show and about sponsorship is, do I need my own website, and do I need a resume? The answer is, in my opinion, yes to both, and that's why we partner with TopThePodium.com. Now, if you want to see an example of what a professional website and what a professional resume looks like, you gotta check out TopThePodium.com. They did my website. The Sponsored Rider Club Podcast website is SponsoredRiderClubPodcast.com. That was created by Jeff Vanistall of TopThePodium.com. I think it's awesome. I get a lot of good feedback about it. And there's a number of other websites out there that Jeff has produced that are just phenomenal. So I think it's important in this world of social media where you have control of your content. That's what a website does. It gives you full control. We don't know what Facebook's going to do sometimes. We don't know what Instagram's going to do. We don't know what Twitter's going to do. So if we don't have that central location to direct people and house our content, there is some risk that we incur. So I strongly recommend getting a website, talking to TopThePodium.com. And then the resume, again, is massive. And if you want to stand out, get it done professionally. And honestly, it is one of the best ways to step up your game and present yourself in the best way possible. Let's talk about your truck for a minute. You can count on it to haul your vehicle and your gear to the track or to the trailhead, but I bet you never think about the motor oil. Here's why you should. Your oil is the only thing preventing your engine from wearing out and breaking down. To keep your truck running strong, look for an oil with added wear protection. Like, for example, AMSOIL Signature Series Synthetic Motor Oil. It delivers 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than is required by the leading industry standard. It provides the next level protection today's demanding engines need to keep running for years and to keep effortlessly towing your ride to the track. Go to AMSOIL.com/rider to find out more. Make the switch to AMSOIL Synthetic Motor Oil today to keep your vehicle running great. Safety is our overriding priority. I hear it all the time, but I have to ask myself, is it though? Is that the first thing we think of? Is that the first thing you think of? Over the past couple of years, we've seen the performance of production UTVs increase, somewhere around 350%. That means these machines give us a lot more opportunity to have fun and win races, but it also, unfortunately, gives us new opportunities to crash. And that's why we have partnered with Crash Addict Industries. The owner, Travis Pointer, became very accustomed to crashing early in his career. He saw it as inevitable, and he set out to make the process safer. With a passion for racing, welding, and engineering, Crash Addict Industries now produces full cage and other protection systems intentionally designed to protect you during an accident on the track. They also offer a line of human protection products through their vendors. Do this for me at this point. If you're racing with a stock cage right now, please go check out CrashAddict.com and at least just see what they have to offer. Even if you choose to go with a different company, please make safety your overriding priority.
All right, well, welcome back, everybody. We are now in the main event, and that's where we talk about sponsorship tactics and strategies. Now, we already hit on a couple of things there towards the end of the last section, but now I want to dive into some examples, like how did you build relationships with some of these sponsors? How did you connect with them? Let's go there. Pick one that you'd like to talk about.
I think, personally, it's really important to just always stay in contact with your sponsors, whether that is through meeting them face-to-face, sending them race update emails, or even just giving them a quick phone call. And I think one thing that's kind of important for me, 212, one of our main sponsors, every time we have an off weekend and they have an event going on, we always go help work the booth. And when, for example, we went out to the NHRA event and the NASCAR event, and we brought our cars out there, the drift truck, the trophy truck and the drift car, and we brought our hero cards out there, and 212 is really fun. They're a fun person to work for, like, when it comes to the events, because they got the microphone going, music going, and they always just have a crowd coming in for their venue. So when they're set up, me and Brandon, they do autograph sessions with us. Okay. And we'll go out there and sign autographs, and I'll be like, hey, you want an autograph? I'll sign an autograph in front of my truck, and I'll be like, go check out the gloves. Like, I think just being there and showing that you're supporting them is really important.
Yeah. The autograph sessions, I think, always go over pretty well, too. Multiple places I've been to, they've got, I've seen them, they do this at Heydays. I don't know if you've ever been to Heydays. It's a big snowmobile show in Minnesota. Okay. I'm assuming they'll still have it this year. That's out in September. They've got some time to get rid of coronavirus before that. But they would bring in a bunch of their riders and racers and just line them up. And I remember I walked through like the Polaris sponsored rider line, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And, like, I've seen all of you somewhere, and you're just right here in one spot at one time. Like, how can you beat this? And I don't know, those things are always fun. And Monster Jam honestly does a really good job with that kind of stuff too.
I think it, even when I went to the small event where my one competition I did in the monster trucks, and my autograph line, I was a new driver, but my autograph line was 10 times longer because I was a girl. And the guy who won the event, his autograph line was not as long as mine. Yeah. And I think it's just so funny how, like, even the support from the fans, like, being a girl in a male-dominated sport, it's awesome to see how the fans back you up.
Yeah, definitely. I know I waited a long time to get Cynthia Gautier's autograph.
She is amazing. Honestly, I've hung out with her a few times, and I've talked to her about the monster truck thing. That girl is crazy. Yeah,
she took a kind of a chance on me very early on. So she came on episode 8 of this show. 8. This one's going to be, I think it's going to be 221 when it comes out. So, really? Yeah, it was very early on. It was Amy Hood came on episode 7, and then Cynthia was episode 8. And I was like, wow, this is pretty awesome.
But yeah, I think for keeping and building those partnerships with your sponsors is really important. And also, I think promoting them through social media is something that, even as simple as reposting their post on your Instagram story, will keep them looking at your feed and knowing that you're there. Because I have made videos for sponsors just promoting their products. Like, I even did pictures of one of my mechanics going out and doing landscaping in the 2-on-2 gloves. Like, just stuff like that. And even posting it kind of brings a variety of how, I think it's like, you have to show how that product can not only suit the racers, but the fans as well.
Yeah, and that's actually a good lead. And I was going to ask you this question a little bit later, but you kind of brought it up as, something unique that you've done to promote your sponsors. So I like that idea of what you just talked about there of, the gloves kind of outside of their element, but still, adding value still kind of works. How'd you get that idea? Like, where'd that come from?
Honestly, where do I get my ideas from? I don't know. I was like, how can I promote them in a way? Like, for example, if I'm sitting here posting welding gloves over and over and over again, but they have more to offer than just welding gloves. Yeah. They have welding gloves, they have mechanics gloves, they have yard work gloves, like they have first responder gloves, even just like not like giving kind of promoting their brand to whoever it can suit.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I just thought of something, and it was, when I ask people this question, like, what's something unique you've done to promote your sponsors? This always comes up. And do you know the Diesel Brothers?
Yeah.
Or you heard of them at least? So they were promoting the release of a new Smitty-built XRC winch, and like 40 Parts had, asked a bunch of their influencers, hey, do something kind of cool. I don't know. I don't care what you do. Just do something special for this thing. Yeah. Here's some content, here's things about it. If you got questions, let us know, but do something. And, they took I think they took a Ford Raptor, put the winch on the front of it, and then they lifted it up a building, like vertically with this winch. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I want this winch now. I was part of promoting it. I was like, I want multiple of these winches, like, just so I could do that. I mean, it was just really cool. And I'm like, who would think of that? Where's that stuff come from?
Thinking outside of the box to get a good audience is kind of key. Like, nobody wants to see just the boring old posts. Like, people want to see you failing. People want to see you doing funny things and entertaining them. I don't just go on social media just to be bored. I go on social media to entertain myself. So give me something good to entertain myself with.
Yeah.
And I think me being someone who is a public figure and posting things like that, I have to think out of the box. I have to come up with good ideas. And even right now with this whole coronavirus thing and everything shutting down, my brother and I are like, all right, this is our time to produce content because everyone's going to be sitting at home. Everyone's going to be bored out of their minds. Now let's give them something to entertain themselves with.
Yeah, I read something, an article that was saying like, influencer content has just skyrocketed over the past week and a half in the United States because of that same reason. People are kind of like quarantined or stuck, or their routine is all off, and they pull up the internet. They do something on the internet.
Definitely.
So yeah,
I don't think I have ever watched YouTube. Like, I'm not the type of person to just sit down and watch YouTube.
Yeah.
But with all of my classes going online right now, I'm so bored at home that I'm just like waiting. I'm waiting for my brother to get back from Utah so we can get some things rolling.
Yeah, that's pretty funny though. But it's good that you recognize that it's an opportunity, right? I think that's a sign of a good influencer, and seeing this as a time to make lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah.
Good deal. Before we had started the show, we were kind of doing like a pre-interview, and I told you we were going to talk at one point about when things didn't go well with a sponsor, because so far a lot of things we've talked about today have been like, yeah, woohoo, it went well. But there has been a time, right, that things didn't quite go as expected. And I don't want to know anything about the company or exactly, but I want to know kind of the story of what happened, what'd you learn, and maybe how can others avoid that mistake?
So I'm not going to mention the company's name, but we were working with a company, and I think important piece of information is that they were one of our main sponsors, because to give you a good idea, we go through 80 tires in one weekend, and paying $100 a tire for one of those tires a weekend, like, it gets pricey. So they were one of our bigger sponsors, and they were providing us with tires. But with Formula Drift, they were very, very strict on what tires we can run. So we only have a few brands to choose from. And because I'm 17 and my brother's 15, they were just telling us, like they were backing us all year. And then when we told them we're going big, like, we are going to make it to Pro 1. We are not going to stop at Pro 2. We're going for Pro 1. And I think them as a company, they didn't see it in us. They were like, first of all, Brian's not even old enough to get his driver's license. No way Formula Drift is going to let him be a Pro 1 driver.
Yeah.
And they just doubted us. And we were always on top of our game the whole entire time, especially being we had to jump through a lot of hoops to get into Formula Drift, not being of age to even have a license.
Yeah.
So getting into Formula Drift was definitely not easy because of age restrictions, and we had to find our way around it. And they just kind of looked at us as a joke. Like, it was like they were supporting us, but also on top of it, they didn't believe in us at all. And of all their other drivers, we were definitely more determined that we were going to make it to the next level. And it just, like, being with them and working with them, they kind of just wished bad luck on us and basically told us, like laughed in our face. And I think going from there, we took that as encouragement to do better. And we took that as a drive to not only prove them wrong, but, like, that wasn't the whole point of it. It was more motivation to get that goal accomplished.
Yeah.
Because with that, I feel like it was just having one of our main sponsors kind of put that on us, was just like, well, you are providing us with a lot of products, and it is very pricey, and you're just going to basically tell us that we're trash and, like, just like every other driver. But moving forward with that, I feel like if it's an iffy situation to step into, then just don't step into it. Because with us coming into it, it was there was a lot of jealousy that was involved. And even just not only with sponsors, but, like, I've dealt with jealousy being a girl in this sport so much. Like, I feel like girls need to work together because there's only a few of us, and we need to, like, build it up. But there's a lot of jealousy with it.
Yeah, well, that kind of reminds me how you handled that situation reminds me of how I don't know, do you watch football at all, like New England Patriots?
No.
Okay, well, I'll just explain to them, like, their culture. They've been a very successful team for a long time now. For, like, the past 20 years, they've had one of the best records out there. But they always have this, like, underdog mentality. They always have this chip on their shoulder, where somebody slighted them, or, someone made a comment in the press, and that's like, oh, well, they're going to fail this year. And then they turn that around as this, like, crazy motivation.
I think it's important
Yeah.
take that negative energy and turn it into positive energy. And
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
any way that you can take negative energy and turn it into positive energy is going to help you in every single way.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's a very good example. I'm glad you brought that one up.
Even I feel like also I'm a college student right now, and I'm taking communications, and my communications teacher just gave us a lesson on when you go to speak in front of crowds or like your public speaking, take that energy, like that nervous energy, and turn it into empowering energy. Be like, instead of sitting here shaking your knees, like sit here and use that energy and the adrenaline and turn it into something positive and something that can help you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good message, because we all have that, right? We're all surrounded at times by some sort of negative energy. You know, what do we do with it? You can let it take you down, or you can let it turn around and build you up.
Definitely. It's no different than sitting on the line when right before that green flag drops.
Yeah, yeah.
You get that nervous, anxious buildup, and you're like, especially with drifting, when you're out there on the track by yourself and everybody's eyes are on
watching
you.
Yeah.
It's like, I sit there and I shake my knees when I'm nervous. Everyone knows I'm nervous because my car will be shaking because my knees are shaking. And I have to take that energy and I just have to turn it into confidence.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you've kind of learned that you want to share that maybe I didn't ask or talk about?
I don't know. I just feel like I've definitely learned a lot racing motorsports, and I feel like even just being a female in the male-dominated industry, I've learned a lot. And also the motorsports industry has kind of, I feel like it makes us different. Like, us kids who are in the motorsports industry are not like your typical kid, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I've just interviewed Mia Chapman. That'd have been 2 episodes ago. I'm probably gonna get my numbers mixed up here, but I think that was 218 or 219. I don't know. And then I interviewed your brother, and then now you, all within the 15 to 17 range, and you all have like this crazy good understanding of, you know, how marketing works and how sponsorship works, and it's really cool to see that. Especially in, like, I see it even stronger in people who've grown up in racing, you know, where their families have done it, you know, their parents have done it in the past, and it's just like it's natural. Some of the things that you say are just natural, how you've grown up, where other people, you know, they got to learn it, which is why I make this show, right, so that people can learn it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, it's always pretty interesting to like compare and contrast kids in motorsports and racing and stuff to, you know, the other folks, and just some of the things that they picked up that are different.
Yeah. I'd say one message, though, that I would leave with everyone is, like, don't be afraid to try. Like, I feel like one thing that always held me back is the fear of being embarrassed trying. But honestly, like, I would rather embarrass myself trying than embarrass myself not even trying at all. Because everybody starts somewhere. Everyone was slow at one point. Everyone was having their first time at one point. Like, you can only build from where you start, and you can't build if you haven't started.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, this is kind of a personal story here, but a long time ago, I mean, I don't know how old I was, maybe 12 or 13. No, I might have been like 14 at the time. And me and one of my buddies were hanging out with my dad and a couple of his friends, and we were playing around doing like arm wrestling stuff, and it was kind of funny because we were going back and forth, you know, but I was getting bigger, you know, I was 14, I'm like, oh, I'm a big tough guy, you know, and but you know, we were arm wrestling the dads and stuff, and I wasn't. It was kind of funny. My dad stopped me, or no, it wasn't my dad. It was my buddy's dad. He stopped me. He's like, Josh, you don't even look like you're trying right now. I said, well, I'm not really. He's like, well, why aren't you trying? He's like, I don't want to try and then lose. He's like, well, you're definitely gonna lose if you don't try. And I was like, huh.
Definitely, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's like, that moment kind of stuck with me. It was such a silly little moment, but sometimes those silly little moments stick with you. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
Definitely.
I will always try from this point on. And I feel like I did. So I feel like we're kind of saying the same thing there.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we got through all those questions, but I like to save my hardest question for this part of the round here. I call it the lightning round. Only one question. If you could sponsor anyone in the world, who would you choose and why?
I still don't have an answer.
I know. I tried to give you a little bit of heads up, but it's tough.
choose?
Do you want me to tell you? Well, let me ask you this way.
Sponsor in what ways?
Like
providing them money, providing them my support, in what kind of way?
Let's go with money. Let's put some dollars on the line. Picture yourself as you own a business and you got to pick somebody to sponsor.
Good potential. If I could sponsor anyone, Haley Deegan. That girl is definitely. I think she inspires me, and even just I used to race mod carts with Haley, and I've hung out with Haley as friends multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
But what that girl is doing, and just being a girl in a male-dominated sport, I love how she is proving everyone wrong. Honestly, I feel I don't know. She has really good potential.
Mm-hmm.
I know that she has the motivation and drive. I know that her heart belongs in racing, and I know that her family is there to keep her on track, even if she wants to get off of the path of going there, because I can see it.
Yeah, definitely. I see Haley Deegan all over the place. I mean, she's definitely, especially in the past maybe year, really hit her stride, I think, with social media and racing and stuff like that. It just seems like she kind of
motivated 100% in her heart.
Yeah, which is awesome.
And just knowing her on a personal level, I know how many distractions are thrown at her, and the way that she avoids it is just she manages it so well.
No, that's very important. That's good. Managing distraction. I'm gonna write that down. That might be a note for later. Managing distraction. That could be probably an episode on itself. Well, that's good. See, you got through it. I was gonna actually. I'll ask you this anyways. Who do you think your brother said for that question?
Me. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you weren't far off. He did not
Cameron.
say you. He said Cameron. Yep.
Why did he say Cameron?
He was he's just, got so much potential. And he's very natural in a car, and there's just so many good things that he's going to do. And, he's learned from me and Amanda, and he's going to do such good things. I was like, oh, okay, sweet. I can accept that answer.
You know what's so funny is it's kind of funny that he says that, because so me and Cameron, Cameron was my best friend. When Cameron was born, it was I loved baby dolls when I was younger, and I was oh my gosh, I wish it was a girl, but then I was I didn't want a girl, because I like being the only girl.
Yeah.
But Cameron is so funny. He just has a character in him, but I think it's funny that he has no competitiveness. He has yet to find the competitiveness like my brother and I.
Yeah.
My brother and I will literally sit here and be competitive over anything. And then there's Cameron, and it's I remember one year he was out at a go-kart race, and they had an event going on at the speedway, and there was fireworks. He was in the middle of his race, and he pulled over on the track to watch fireworks.
That's awesome.
I swear to you, this kid has no competitiveness. He'll sit here and be yeah, I'm the best, and if I want to get first, I'll get first.
Yeah.
But no big deal. And it's so funny.
That is pretty funny. My kids, they're 5 and 7 now, but my 5-year-old, he is ultra competitive. And, I mean, he'll just make a race out of anything, or, I got to beat you. I mean, getting dressed at night, when he's putting his pajamas on, he's always got to try to be the fastest. While his brother, his 7-year-old brother, does not care a lick. And he's so much bigger. I mean, his brother's 2 years older. He's a lot bigger still right now. He's a lot stronger, and but the little one, man, they'll race and he'll beat him all the time. The oldest one, he's way faster. He just kind of runs around and kind of looks over somewhere. He's like, oh yeah, look at this thing. There's a flower over there. I'm gonna look at that flower. And the youngest one is just running his little heart out. trying to win this made-up race, and it's pretty funny watching the two of them. They're so different.
Yeah, but Cameron, he's something else. That kid is. I could see him being in Nitro Circus one day, or just being in like the entertainment industry where he goes out and like, because he has no competitiveness. I don't see him racing NASCAR to get first place. I see him riding his dirt bike, throwing big whips or backflips to be entertaining, and then just hanging out with all of his friends. Like, I think that's where I see him belonging.
Awesome. Well, there's plenty of room for that in the world too.
Definitely.
Good deal. Well, it is time to kind of wrap things up. If there's one thing that you want people to remember from the show, if they kind of forgot everything else we talked about, what do you think that one thing should be?
Don't be afraid to try.
There you go. Hey, well, that's a good reiteration, because that was kind of where you ended the main event at, like hitting on that point a couple times. So yeah, I think that makes sense.
Don't be afraid to try.
Yeah. Because
personally, even if you're not interested, it doesn't hurt to get your feet wet. It doesn't hurt to get. Personally, I was never interested in photography, videos, nothing. I just had the opportunity to go shoot with Georgina Vaughn. She does a lot of the Miss America model shoots. And why not try? Why not? Who knows? You never know. If I wouldn't have ever tried stepping in a go-kart, I would have never had the opportunity. To give you a good gist, I've tried roller hockey, I've played ice hockey, figure skating, volleyball. Like, I've pretty much gotten my feet wet in a lot of things.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It doesn't hurt to try, because you never know where it might take you.
Yeah, definitely. Or it doesn't hurt to ask if you can hop in somebody's monster truck. They might just let you.
For real. They might just let you.
Amanda, what's the best way for people listening to connect with you on like social media or email or whatever?
I respond to all my Instagram DMs usually.
Perfect.
And I'm pretty fan friendly on my Instagram, Facebook, social media, all of it.
Sounds good.
But my Instagram is Amanda.Sorensen12, so you can reach me there. Or I also have my email linked on there.
Perfect.
My Facebook is A_Sorensen12, so you can find me on Google.
All right,
I
sounds
got a website
good.
too, so.
Well, hey, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat tonight. Going through all these different stories and, kind of sharing some of your motivations. But all things must end at some point, and except for maybe coronavirus, that might never end. But this interview is definitely ending right now. But at this point, I'm going to leave you with this. Have fun and ride safe.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by 4-Wheel Parts. I want you to make sure that you are subscribed to this show, whether it's on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss upcoming guests and upcoming episodes. And then follow us on social media. We're on all of the platforms. You can find out the most content, though, on our Facebook page. That's where we do our live videos. To get some insider access to upcoming guests, you can also check out the Sponsored Rider Club on Facebook. It is a support network where you can ask questions about best practices and get feedback from our audience. And I also highly encourage you to check out our column in UTV Sports Magazine called Sponsor This. A special thanks goes out to our sponsors, 4-Wheel Parts, AMSOIL, TopThePodium.com, and Crash Addict Industries. And I also want to shout out some of our other partners, MBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, and High Octane Coffee. I look forward to serving you again next week. Until then, have fun and ride safe.